Hey guys, this is Chef Matt. We're going to show you how to do a simple minestrone soup today. Very simple dish. Here on the table I can show you what you need. You need 2 stock pots and also a colander to drain your pasta. We have a half an onion, some celery stalk, carrot, tomato. We've included some chicken base, which is a concentrated form of chicken stock, some tomato sauce. We have our penne pasta, a bag of spinach, some beans, and also a seasoning packet with everything you need already pre-mixed for you. So your first step is we're going to go ahead and boil our pasta. So in one of your stock pots, go ahead and bring a pot of water to boil. Once that reaches a boil, you can add your pasta into it. While that's heating up, we can go ahead and prep our ingredients here. So for the onion, we're going to skin it. We're going to take that top layer, discard that. Now since this is a soup, all these vegetables are going to kind of act like the body of it. So we're going to do a julienne cut on our onion today. Leave it a little bit bigger. Some people would do a dice. I'm going to do a julienne. So I'm going to take both ends off like so, and then I'm simply just going to make long incisions all the way down. Keep your fingers curled. Hold the onion tightly. When you get about halfway down, you flip it, just like that, and then do the same. That's going to give us a very nice thin slices of onion that we'll saute off later. Set those to the side. With the carrot, the same thing. Go ahead and take your ends off. You're going to cut down the middle. Always put the flat side down on the cutting board. That way it doesn't roll on you. If I try to cut it this way, the carrot's going to roll. I'm going to put it flat side down. I'm going to make long, thin cuts. I'm going to turn sideways, keeping everything together, and then I'm going to dice. And we want to go for a nice small to medium dice here. Again, the vegetables are going to be the body of the soup since there's no protein or meat in this soup. Same thing with the other half of the carrot. You can peel this if you want to. In a soup, I generally don't because a lot of the nutrients are in the skin. Just make sure you wash them off really well before you cook them. Same thing with the celery. You're going to cut off any of the leaves that we don't need. And the very light colored end is the root end of the celery stalk. We're going to cut that off. And then if you have a stalk like this that's mostly leaves, you can actually kind of just pull the leaves off. And it'll leave you with a proper stalk of celery. Same thing, we're going to julienne first, long thin strips. We're going to turn sideways, same size as the carrots. Celery, you might only have to go down the middle once. Turn sideways and dice. And this is our classic mirepoix. So we have 2 parts onion, 1 part carrot, and 1 part celery. If you notice, they're very equal to each other. Next, we're going to dice up our tomatoes. What I like to do with the tomatoes is I'll take the top end off. I'll go ahead and cut it in half. Again, same rule, flat side, always down on the board. And then I'm going to go ahead and make strips Sometimes chefs will de-seed tomatoes. In this case, since it's going in the soup, we actually want that moisture content in there. And then turn it sideways and dice. These are going to be a little larger. This is actually going to be the meaty part of our soup. Same thing with the next one. Strips sideways. Now the tomatoes are done, we're going to focus our attention on the rest of the ingredients. So we have a little bit of garlic here, that's going to help add flavor. We have our spinach, which is going to give us some nutrition in the soup. And also the beans, that's going to add more body. So let's check on our water. Starting to come to a slow simmer. We want this at a rolling boil before we add our pasta. We're going to go ahead and heat up our other stock pot. Alright. Cool, so we've got our pasta boiling now, and we're going to go ahead and get our second stock pot heated up. We're going to add a little bit of olive oil in the bottom and get that up to temp before we add our vegetables in there. It's very important to only add the onion, celery, carrots first. Those are going to take longer to cook than the spinach, beans, or tomatoes. So we're going to add these first once that heats up. Great, so now that our pan is heated up, we're going to add our mirepoix, which is our onions, celery, and carrots. You should hear a nice sizzle. And then we're going to season pretty heavily. So a nice pinch or two. These are going to take about 5 minutes to cook down. After they're seared, you want to turn down the heat a little bit because the object is to sweat the vegetables, not to burn them. So turn the heat down so it's on a nice low simmer, and we're going to give this about 5 minutes to cook up. Now that our vegetables have cooked up a little bit, they're still a little al dente, which means they have some texture to them. We're going to go ahead and add our garlic. The reason why we're adding our garlic now is because garlic burns very easily. So we want to make sure we add that last with the other vegetables. Give that a quick stir or flip. Still on low heat, and we're going to let that hang out for a second. Over here we're going to go ahead and get some water and pour it in your chicken stock pouch. Just enough to kind of cover everything. Go ahead and seal that back up. And then we're going to do the same thing to our tomato sauce. And the reason we're doing this is basically just to get everything off the sides of the bag. Seal that back up so it doesn't spill. And then now we're going to add our spinach, and beans, and tomatoes to our pot over here. Go ahead and put the spinach in. Then your beans. And then lastly, your tomatoes. The biggest trick to this is to make sure that you season a little bit every time you add something. So now that we've added a bunch of other fresh ingredients, we're going to do the same kind of seasoning. A couple pinches, season pretty liberally. Give that a nice stir. And And you'll notice the spinach starts to cook down pretty quick. And we're simply heating these ingredients up. We're not necessarily cooking them too much. Next, we're going to grab our pouches of chicken stock and tomato. We're going to bring our heat back up since we added a lot of cold ingredients. Make sure we get it all out there. You can also cut the bag if you need to make this easier for you. And then we're going to add our chicken base. And if it's still lumpy, that just means we need to make sure there's enough liquid in there and make sure it comes to a boil so it dissolves. And give this a nice stir. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more water to it and let it cook down a little. And another pinch of seasoning. Excellent. So now that this is brought back up to a simmer, we're going to let this cook for about 10 minutes. The longer you let it go, the better it's going to taste. Always taste everything. So that needs a little bit more salt. So we're going to go ahead and add some more seasoning to it. And we should have given you enough seasoning for this dish. Give that a quick stir. And then the final step, our noodles are done. So we're going to bring those over to the sink and drain them. Grab you a colander and just simply drain your noodles off. And these are going straight into the soup pot. Give that a stir. And again, the longer you let this cook, the more the flavors are going to blend. So anywhere from 10, 15, 20 minutes, usually good. Just make sure that you don't cook all the liquid out of it. I'm going to let this cook down for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I will show you guys how to plate. So now that our soup is finished, we've let it boil and simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes. We're simply going to serve. And make sure you get all your vegetables in there, and of course plenty of liquid. You can garnish this with some fresh basil or parsley. Looks great. And that's it. Easy minestrone soup, and it didn't come from a can.